evening and welcome to Biz RoundUp. I'm Tamiru Nimsat and we at Art Television bring you a collection of business highlights. Let's have a look at the headlines. A resilient economy within 3 years is the target, President asserts. 16% increase in tourist arrivals, official data reveals. Country's economy is in positive directions, officials say. News in detail. President Anukumar Dissanayake presented a bold vision for the country's economic future at the international conference Sri Lanka's Road to Recovery, Debt and Governance. This conference, which was held in Colombo recently, highlighted the commitment to establish a stable and self-reliant economy by 2028.
Delivering the keynote address, President Dissanayake declared that by 2028, Sri Lanka aims to have established a resilient economy capable of independently meeting its external debt obligations without external assistance. He stressed that true national sovereignty cannot exist amid economic collapse and reaffirmed the government's ultimate goal to restore sovereignty through economic stability and self-reliance. The President called for collective effort from political leaders, public officials and citizens, highlighting that ongoing reforms require sustained dedication. The conference also featured remarks from Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, who credited the IMF and international partners for supporting Sri Lanka's recovery following a historic crisis that culminated in sovereign default in 2022. Dr. Veerasinghe highlighted key achievements under the IMF's Extended Fund Facility program, including taming inflation, rebuilding external balances and improving fiscal discipline. However, he emphasized that stabilization is only the first step and that sustained growth depends on structural changes and governance reforms. New legislation such as the Central Bank Act and Anti-Corruption Act were cited as critical to restoring institutional credibility.
During her address at the conference, Deputy Managing Director of the IMF, Geeta Gopinath, acknowledged Sri Lanka's recent economic efforts but highlighted the country's history of economic instability. IMF Deputy Managing Director reminded the audience that Sri Lanka has undertaken numerous IMF programs and ended them prematurely, ultimately leading to economic demise.
Sri Lanka has delivered. We're at this midpoint where we are in a good place. The reforms look strong, progress looks strong, but we also have to remind ourselves of the risks. So the IMF has had, with Sri Lanka, we've had 16 previous programs. About half of them have ended prematurely. And the reason that has happened is because reform fatigue sets in, the hard-won gains get reversed, and so I think we can all agree that the country cannot afford to repeat this cycle. It is critically important to sustain the reform momentum and to do so in a manner that's inclusive and accountable. The IMF will remain a steadfast partner of Sri Lanka, and we very much look forward to working together to improve the lives of all the citizens now and future generations.
President Anukumar Dissanayake met with IMF Deputy Managing Director Geeta Gopinath and the IMF delegation to discuss Sri Lanka's economic recovery and reform agenda. President Dissanayake highlighted concerns about the impact of US tariffs on Sri Lankan exports during the meeting held at the Presidential Secretariat recently.
President Anukumar Dissanayake emphasized the government's focus on attracting investment and aligning economic reforms with public aspirations. Discussions also touched on Sri Lanka's trade relations with the European Union, particularly the GSP Plus trade concession that provides preferential access to EU markets, contributing to 23% to the nation's exports. President Dissanayake reaffirmed his administration's commitment to fostering investor confidence and sustaining economic recovery. Key government officials, including Minister of Labour and Deputy Minister of Economic Development Dr. Anil Jayantha Fernando, Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe and Finance Secretary Mahinda Siriwardana also participated in these discussions.
The Committee on Public Accounts has called for an audit to assess the daily financial losses caused by train cancellations following concerns raised during its recent meeting. Chaired by the Member of Parliament Arvind Senarath, the meeting reviewed the 2023 Auditor General's report on the Sri Lanka Railways Department.
Discussions highlighted issues such as insufficient audit and management committee meetings from 2021 to 2024. Former general managers of railways and secretaries to the ministry attributed these lapses to challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic and staff transfers. COPA expressed concerns over declining institutional efficiency, noting increased train delays in recent years, 64 delays in 2022, 61 in 2023 and 46 in 2024. The committee has directed the department to report on train delays and measures to address them, alongside recommending a detailed audit on the financial impact of train cancellations.
Stay tuned. We will return after this short commercial break. Welcome back after the break. A transformative step towards modernizing Sri Lanka's public service was taken with a special workshop on artificial intelligence held at Temple Trace recently. Titled AI for Transforming Public Service, the event marked the beginning of a major government initiative to digitalize public administration.
The workshop, attended by officials of the Presidential Secretariat, aimed to create awareness and foster a positive perception of AI's potential within the public sector. The keynote address was delivered by Dr. Hans Vijayasuriya, Senior Advisor to the President on the digital economy, highlighting AI's transformative role in enhancing productivity and efficiency. Sanjay Karunasena, Executive Director of ICTA, addressed the participants, while ICTA board members Harsha Purasinghe and Samiza Besinghe led awareness sessions with practical demonstrations. The event was graced by senior officials including Secretary to the President Dr. Nandika Sanath Kumarnayaka and Senior Additional Secretary Roshan Gamage.
Sri Lanka's economy recorded a 4.8% growth in the first quarter of 2025, signaling continued recovery driven by strong industrial output and financial sector performance. This was revealed by the latest GDP data released by the Department of Census and Statistics recently. Sri Lanka's economy grew by 4.8% in the first quarter, ending March 2025, extending the recovery that began in the third quarter of 2023. While this marks a slight easing from the 5.4% growth recorded in the final quarter of 2024, it remains a solid performance, particularly when considering seasonal variations. The main driver behind this growth was the industrial sector, which posted an impressive 9.7% expansion. This was followed by the services sector, growing by 2.8%. However, agriculture continued to lag with a 0.7% contraction during the period. In terms of contribution to the economy, services led the way, accounting for 57.4% of GDP, followed by industrial activities at 26.7% and agriculture at 7.6%. Meanwhile, taxes less subsidies on products contributed 8.3%, with the same figure matching its year-on-year growth. The Department of Census and Statistics identified key sectors driving this growth, including financial and insurance services, manufacturing, construction, mining and quarrying, and accommodation services. According to the central bank, credit expansion is picking up pace and reaching broader sectors of the economy, a trend also reflected in the latest Purchasing Managers Indices. Among the standout performers, financial and insurance services saw the highest growth, surging by 15.1%, while construction activity followed with a robust 10.7% increase compared to the same period last year. The Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority recorded over 43,900 tourist arrivals during the first 10 days of June compared to 33,017 in the same period last year. This was revealed by the latest data released by the Tourism Development Authority recently.
Daily arrivals also improved, averaging 4,396 visitors, up from 3,302 in 2024. Despite these gains, stakeholders remain cautious as the industry struggles to meet projections. A shortfall of 279,452 arrivals during the first 5 months highlights the challenges in converting interest into actual visits. From January to June 10, 2025, over 1.07 million tourists visited Sri Lanka, a 16% increase compared to 2024. Notably, January, February and May arrivals surpassed pre-COVID levels from 2018. India, the UK and Bangladesh emerged as top markets in June, contributing 12,362, 3,740 and 2,717 visitors respectively. Year to date, India leads with 216,422 arrivals, followed by Russia and the UK. Tourism revenue from the first 5 months reached $1.54 billion US, but $3.46 billion US more is needed to hit the annual $5 billion US target.
Stay tuned. We will return after this short commercial break. Welcome back after the break. Sri Lanka's apparel sector took a step forward in strengthening social compliance practices with a full-day workshop held under the Global Textiles and Clothing Programme. Organized by the International Trade Center and supported by the Embassy of Switzerland, the event concluded successfully in Colombo recently.
The workshop brought together leading apparel exporters, compliance professionals and policymakers to address global regulations and strategies for improved compliance. Opening remarks were delivered by key stakeholders including ITC's Head of Fibers, Textiles and Clothing Unit, Matthias Knape, and representatives from the Swiss Embassy, EDB and JAF. Discussions emphasized compliance as critical for maintaining Sri Lanka's competitive edge in global markets. Sessions covered frameworks like SLCP, WRAP and ETI with case studies from Mars Holdings and Brandex Apparel showcasing best practices. Participants engaged in problem-solving workshops and received hands-on training to enhance compliance management systems. The event also introduced the Global Textile Academy for digital learning, equipping the industry with tools for ongoing compliance capacity building.
The Colombo Stock Exchange is set to introduce a central counterparty framework next month, marking a pivotal upgrade in Sri Lanka's capital market infrastructure. This CCP framework, implemented through a new subsidiary called CSC Clear Private Limited, aims to enhance the safety, efficiency and transparency of equity transactions. As a fully owned subsidiary of the CSC and regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission, CSC Clear will act as the intermediary, guaranteeing trades and managing risks for all equity transactions conducted at the CSC. The move follows the existing delivery versus payment settlement mechanism operational since August 2021, which ensures securities are exchanged only upon payment. While effective at reducing risks, the bilateral nature of the DVP model has presented challenges, including increased operational complexity and credit risks, particularly with growing trading volumes. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka announced extended relief measures for small and medium enterprises impacted by recent economic challenges. The Central Bank has instructed licensed commercial and specialized banks to offer additional concessions to SME borrowers who initiated revival discussions earlier. These measures are outlined in Circular No. 4 of 2024, dated December 19, 2024, and its addendum Circular No. 1 of 2025, dated January 1, 2025. The concessions include interest relief and access to new lending. Importantly, the deadline for licensed banks to finalize rescheduling agreements with eligible borrowers has been extended from June 15 to June 30, 2025. SME borrowers who have already engaged in discussions with their banks are encouraged to contact their respective banks for further details on the relief measures available. These extended measures aim to provide much needed support to SMEs, enabling them to navigate ongoing economic challenges and focus on long-term recovery. With that, we wind up for today. For this and more, subscribe to our channel on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. See you tomorrow with State of Business at 7:45 p.m. Take care and good night.